Mystery has a way of captivating us, pulling us into the unknown and leaving us restless for answers. Throughout history, some of the most iconic figures have met their ends under circumstances so puzzling, so shrouded in doubt, that even centuries later, we are left questioning what truly happened. Imagine for a moment standing in Cleopatra's palace as whispers of betrayal echo through the halls, or witnessing the shadowy final days of Amelia Earhart as she vanished into the vast expanse of the Pacific. What really happened to these individuals whose lives shaped history, yet whose deaths left us with more questions than answers? In this video, we are delving into 25 of the most enigmatic and controversial deaths ever recorded. From the suspicious end of Marilyn Monroe to the dark legends surrounding Adolf Hitler's supposed demise, we will uncover the clues, revisit the theories, and explore the lasting impact of these mysteries. Whether it is conspiracy, tragedy, or an unexplainable twist of fate, these stories are more than just history. They are riddles that continue to challenge our understanding of the past. Stay with us as we embark on a journey through the annals of time, where every answer seems to reveal yet another question. Now turning to the fascinating tale of Cleopatra's demise, we find ourselves grappling with one of the most enduring mysteries of the ancient world. Cleopatra, the last active ruler of Egypt, met her end in the year 30 before the Common Era, but the circumstances of her death remain shrouded in intrigue. The traditional narrative tells of a tragic yet dramatic ending, Cleopatra committing suicide by allowing a venomous snake, often thought to be an asp, to bite her. This version paints her death as an ultimate act of defiance, a means to avoid the humiliation of being paraded as a captive in Octavian's triumph. However, not everyone is convinced by this story. Was her death truly a choice, or was it a carefully executed murder cloaked in the illusion of suicide? Some historians argue that Octavian, later known as Augustus, may have orchestrated her death to eliminate a powerful political rival once and for all. This theory suggests that Cleopatra's suicide was staged, serving Octavian's ambitions by cutting off any potential challenge to his consolidation of power. Ancient sources such as Plutarch and Cassius Dio offer accounts, but even they leave room for doubt as the details do not always align. Modern interpretations add even more questions. Could the logistics of a snakebite death in her closely monitored chambers really be plausible, or does the absence of clear evidence point to foul play? Cleopatra's death was not just the end of her reign but also a pivotal moment in history, marking the fall of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the beginning of Roman domination over Egypt. Her life and mysterious death continue to captivate historians and storytellers alike, leaving an indelible mark on how we perceive power, politics, and legacy. As we explore this enigma, the truth remains as elusive as ever, ensuring that Cleopatra's story will forever be a source of fascination and debate. Moving forward, we step into another mystery that refuses to rest: the perplexing disappearance of the legendary aviator Amelia Earhart. Moving forward, we unravel the puzzle of Amelia Earhart's disappearance, a story that has captured imaginations for decades. Amelia Earhart, a trailblazer in aviation and a symbol of fearless determination, vanished without a trace in the year 1937 during her ambitious attempt to circumnavigate the globe. Alongside her navigator, Fred Noonan, she was last heard from over the Pacific Ocean. Her disappearance sparked one of the most extensive search efforts of its time, yet the results were inconclusive, leaving the world with more questions than answers. The most widely accepted theory is that Earhart's plane ran out of fuel and crashed into the vast expanse of the Pacific, a tragic end to her daring journey. But this explanation, while logical, has not satisfied everyone. Alternative theories range from survival on a remote island to being captured by foreign forces. One compelling hypothesis suggests that Earhart and Noonan may have crash-landed on Gardner Island, now known as Nikumaroro, where they later perished as castaways. This theory gained traction with the discovery of skeletal remains in the 1940s, which some believe could have belonged to Earhart, though definitive proof remains elusive. Another theory, steeped in speculation, proposes that Earhart was intercepted and detained by hostile forces in the region, perhaps as an accused spy. While this idea lacks substantial evidence, it reflects the intensity of curiosity and the desperation to find answers. Recent efforts have provided intriguing leads, recovered artifacts like pieces of metal that may match her plane and personal items found on remote islands continue to fuel investigations. However, none have conclusively solved the mystery. Beyond these theories, the disappearance of Amelia Earhart has had a lasting impact, not just on aviation history, but also on how we view human ambition and the quest for exploration. Her legacy, defined by courage and innovation, remains an enduring source of inspiration. As we follow her story through the annals of history, her vanishing stands as a profound reminder of the limits of human knowledge. Stepping away from the clouds of the Pacific, we land on a somber mystery closer to home: the enigmatic and tragic death of literary genius Edgar Allan Poe. Now turning to the haunting mystery of Edgar Allan Poe's death, we step into the murky shadows of a story as enigmatic as the man's writings themselves. In the year 1849, the literary world was shaken when Poe was discovered delirious on the streets of Baltimore. He was wearing clothes that did not appear to be his own, adding an eerie layer to the already bizarre circumstances. Taken to the hospital, Poe drifted in and out of consciousness for 4 agonizing days before passing away, uttering cryptic and unexplainable words as his final act. The official cause of death was listed as congestion of the brain, a vague diagnosis typical of the time, leaving endless room for speculation. Over the years, numerous theories have emerged, each more perplexing than the last. Some point to his well-documented struggles with alcohol as a likely culprit, suggesting that years of hard living may have led to his untimely demise. Others speculate that he may have succumbed to an undiagnosed illness such as rabies, a theory oddly supported by some of the symptoms he exhibited. But the mystery deepens with the possibility of a darker explanation. What if Poe was the victim of foul play? One compelling theory involves cooping, a practice where individuals were forcibly intoxicated and manipulated into voting multiple times during elections, often leading to violent outcomes. Poe was discovered on Election Day, which lends a chilling plausibility to this grim scenario. His own personality and writings have only fueled the intrigue, as his stories often explored themes of death, madness, and mystery, almost as if foreshadowing his own fate. To this day, no hypothesis has been definitively proven, and his death remains one of literature's greatest unsolved enigmas. What makes this mystery so enduring is not just the uncertainty of what happened, but how it seems to reflect the complexity and darkness that defined Poe's life and work. As the next chapter emerges, we confront a tale of intrigue and resilience: the extraordinary, almost mythical death of Grigory Rasputin. As the next chapter unfolds, we delve into the extraordinary and almost mythical death of Grigory Rasputin, a figure whose life and demise have been shrouded in layers of intrigue and legend. Rasputin, a mystic and trusted confidant of the Russian imperial family, was a polarizing figure whose influence over Tsarina Alexandra ignited both devotion and deep resentment among the Russian elite. By the year 1916, amid the chaos of World War I and growing political unrest, his enemies had reached a breaking point. According to the most famous account of his death, a conspiracy of nobles led by Prince Felix Yusupov lured Rasputin to the Yusupov palace under the pretense of a social gathering. There, they reportedly served him cakes and wine laced with cyanide. However, Rasputin stunned his would-be assassins by showing no immediate reaction to the poison, defying their expectations and elevating the tension of the night. Panicked, the group then resorted to shooting him multiple times. Yet, even after being shot, the story claims that Rasputin managed to rise and attempt an escape, leading his attackers to beat him and finally throw him into the frozen Neva River where he presumably drowned. While this dramatic narrative has captivated imaginations for over a century, many historians question its accuracy. Forensic evidence from Rasputin's autopsy suggests discrepancies in this tale, particularly the absence of poison in his system. Some accounts even claim he may have died from a single gunshot wound to the head, raising doubts about the supposed sequence of events. What remains undeniable is how Rasputin's death fueled his larger-than-life reputation, cementing him as a figure both reviled and revered in Russian history. His assassination marked a pivotal moment in the decline of the Romanov dynasty, symbolizing the lengths to which his adversaries would go to end his influence. Moving forward, we revisit one of the most infamous political betrayals in history, the assassination of Julius Caesar. Moving forward, we revisit the fateful Ides of March in the year 44 before the Common Era, a day that forever etched the assassination of Julius Caesar into the annals of history. Julius Caesar, the formidable Roman dictator whose reforms and consolidation of power redefined the Roman Republic, was seen by many as a savior of Rome, but by others as an existential threat to its republican ideals. His growing authority, culminating in his appointment as dictator for life, ignited fears among the Senate of a potential monarchy, which was antithetical to the Roman way of governance. A conspiracy was formed, spearheaded by Senators Gaius Cassius Longinus and Marcus Junius Brutus, whose families had long histories tied to Rome's republican legacy. On that fateful day, Caesar was lured to a session of the Senate at the Theatre of Pompey under the guise of discussing his latest political plans. There, the conspirators ambushed him, stabbing him repeatedly in a premeditated act of betrayal. According to ancient sources, Caesar is said to have uttered the now legendary phrase, "Et tu, Brute," or "You too, Brutus," upon recognizing the involvement of Brutus, a man he reportedly trusted deeply. This moment not only underscores the personal betrayal he may have felt, but also symbolizes the broader collapse of loyalty within the Roman political order. While historical accounts of the assassination agree on its broad strokes, they sometimes differ in details like the exact number of conspirators or the motivations behind specific participants. Was the plot solely driven by a desire to protect the Republic, or did personal and political rivalries also play a role? Interestingly, the aftermath of Caesar's murder spiraled into chaos rather than restoring Republican governance. His death set off a chain reaction of civil wars, culminating in the rise of his grandnephew Octavian, later known as Augustus, who became the first emperor of Rome, effectively ending the republic the conspirators sought to save. This tragic irony has led historians to question whether Caesar's assassins truly grasped the consequences of their actions. With the echoes of this betrayal fading into history, we now turn to a modern-era mystery that continues to perplex the world: the mysterious death of Marilyn Monroe. Now turning to one of Hollywood's most enduring mysteries, the untimely death of Marilyn Monroe in 1962 continues to captivate and perplex both fans and historians. A global icon and symbol of the golden age of Hollywood, Monroe's life appeared glamorous to outsiders, yet it was plagued by personal struggles, failed relationships, and intense scrutiny from the media. Her death, officially ruled as an acute barbiturate overdose, left behind more questions than answers. Found lifeless in her Los Angeles home at the age of 36, the official narrative claimed suicide, citing her history of mental health struggles and substance abuse. However, skeptics have long challenged this conclusion, suggesting that something darker may have taken place that night. Some theories point to her alleged affairs with high-profile figures like John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy, claiming her knowledge of political secrets could have made her a target. Could she have been silenced to protect powerful interests, or were these connections merely exaggerated rumors? Others propose that her death was accidental, arising from a tragic combination of prescription medications and stress. Meanwhile, inconsistencies in the official investigation report, such as missing phone records and delayed ambulance response times, have only fueled speculations of a cover-up. Adding to the intrigue are conflicting accounts from those close to her, with some suggesting she appeared happy and hopeful in the days leading up to her death. These uncertainties have kept the mystery alive for over 6 decades, inspiring countless books, documentaries, and conspiracy theories. As the debate rages on, Marilyn Monroe's tragic end serves as a reminder of the pressures and vulnerabilities that often accompany fame. Transitioning now from the glitz of Hollywood to the world of classical music, we explore the enigmatic death of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Moving forward, we delve into the mysterious demise of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, one of history's most brilliant composers, who passed away in 1791 at the age of just 35. Known for his extraordinary talent and prolific output, Mozart's untimely death has left historians and music enthusiasts grappling with unanswered questions for over 2 centuries. The official cause of death reported at the time was severe miliary fever, a vague diagnosis by today's standards, leading to endless speculation about what truly ended his life. Some historians have turned to medical records and descriptions from those who witnessed his final days, pointing to possible explanations such as kidney failure, rheumatic fever, or even a streptococcal infection. Yet, the enigma deepens with theories suggesting Mozart may have been poisoned. Among the most debated claims is the idea that a rival composer, Antonio Salieri, was involved in his death. Though largely fueled by lore and dramatizations like the film Amadeus, some believe professional jealousy or courtly intrigue may have played a role, even if no concrete evidence has ever surfaced to substantiate these allegations. Adding another layer of intrigue are reports that Mozart himself expressed fears of being poisoned in the weeks before his passing, reportedly telling his wife that he believed he was being slowly eliminated. Could this have been a symptom of paranoia brought on by stress, or was there a grain of truth to his suspicions? Beyond professional rivalries, some theories suggest political motivations, as Mozart's involvement in Masonic circles and his creation of works with symbolic undertones may have placed him in precarious positions. However, others argue his death was far less sinister and the product of poor medical knowledge and care during the late 18th century. The mystery surrounding Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's death endures with no definitive answers, only tantalizing possibilities that continue to capture the imagination of those fascinated by his genius and untimely end. As we leave the world of classical music behind, we step into the chilling tale of the princes in the tower, where politics and betrayal take center stage. Now turning to the grim and perplexing tale of the princes in the tower, we arrive at one of England's most enduring historical mysteries. In the year 1483, young Edward V, just 12 years old, and his 9-year-old brother, Richard, were placed in the Tower of London by their uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, following the death of their father, King Edward IV. The tower, traditionally used as both a royal residence and a fortress, soon became the boys' prison. Officially, they were housed there to await Edward's coronation as king, but instead they vanished without a trace, their fate shrouded in suspicion and sorrow. The widely accepted theory is that Richard, the Duke of Gloucester, who would later become King Richard III, ordered their murders to secure his claim to the throne. Contemporary accounts and later Tudor propaganda painted Richard as the villain, driven by ambition and willing to eliminate any obstacles in his path. However, definitive evidence proving his guilt has never surfaced, leaving historians divided over whether Richard was truly responsible. Adding to the mystery are the skeletons discovered beneath a staircase in the Tower of London in 1674. Many believe these remains are those of the young princes, though forensic techniques of the time were inadequate to confirm this. even modern scientific analysis has not definitively identified the remains, leaving their identities a matter of debate. Was it Richard III who orchestrated their deaths, or could another ambitious figure have been involved? Some historians suggest other suspects, such as Henry Tudor, who would later become Henry VII and had a vested interest in removing rivals from the line of succession. Others argue that the boys may have died of natural causes or been secretly smuggled out of the tower, though these theories lack substantial evidence. In recent years, efforts to re-examine Richard III's legacy have gained momentum, particularly following the discovery of his remains in 2012 and the subsequent reburial that reignited debate over his character and motivations. Was he an unscrupulous usurper or a ruler maligned by history? What truly happened to Edward and Richard remains a question that has captivated the minds of both scholars and enthusiasts for over 500 years. With the unresolved mystery still casting its shadow, we now transition to the island of St. Helena, where the final chapter of Napoleon Bonaparte's life unfolded, leaving behind lingering doubts and questions about his death. Now turning to the remote island of St. Helena, we examine the mysterious circumstances surrounding the death of Napoleon Bonaparte in the year 1821. Once the Emperor of France and one of history's most formidable military leaders, Napoleon spent the final years of his life in exile on this isolated island in the South Atlantic Ocean after his defeat at the Battle of Waterloo. Official records claim that he succumbed to stomach cancer, an explanation that was widely accepted for many years. However, doubts began to emerge almost immediately, sparking one of the most enduring debates in history. Could Napoleon, even in exile, have been the target of a more sinister plot? Speculation about poisoning as the cause of Napoleon's death gained traction in the mid-20th century when researchers analyzed hair samples attributed to him. These studies revealed elevated levels of arsenic, a toxic element often associated with deliberate poisoning. Some historians argue that this arsenic could have been administered by someone within his inner circle, potentially acting under the influence of rival powers who feared Napoleon's potential return to power. Others suggest that the arsenic traces may have come from environmental factors, such as contaminated water or even substances used in the wallpaper of his residence, which contained arsenic-based pigments common at the time. Adding to the mystery are conflicting accounts from those who attended Napoleon during his final days. His personal doctor recorded symptoms consistent with stomach cancer, yet other descriptions suggest signs that could align with arsenic poisoning, such as severe stomach pains and hair loss. These inconsistencies have left room for speculation and debate among historians and forensic experts alike. Even modern evaluations of Napoleon's remains and historical artifacts have failed to provide a definitive answer. Some forensic researchers argue for a combination of factors, perhaps a natural illness compounded by the harsh conditions of his exile and the treatments administered to him, which were often rudimentary and potentially harmful. Meanwhile, others remain convinced that the toxicological evidence points to deliberate foul play, perhaps orchestrated by those who benefited most from his absence. The question of whether Napoleon's death was a natural conclusion to his tumultuous life or the result of a calculated plot continues to captivate historians. His fate, much like his legacy, remains a complex and divisive subject. With no conclusive evidence and theories as varied as they are compelling, the truth behind his death remains elusive. As we leave the windswept shores of St. Helena behind, our journey now takes us to Memphis, Tennessee, where another icon met an untimely and mysterious end. Now turning to Memphis, Tennessee, we examine the untimely and enigmatic death of Elvis Presley, the undisputed king of rock and roll, in the year 1977. Found lifeless in the bathroom of his Graceland mansion, the official cause of death was attributed to a heart attack, reportedly induced by prescription drug misuse. While this explanation was widely accepted at the time, The circumstances surrounding his passing quickly attracted speculation, giving rise to a host of theories that persist to this day. Elvis was no stranger to the pressures of fame. By the time of his death, he had spent 2 decades under the spotlight, a period marked by incredible success but also profound personal struggles. His reliance on a combination of prescription drugs to manage chronic health issues, insomnia, and the demands of his career has been cited as a major contributor to his deteriorating health. Toxicology reports revealed a cocktail of substances in his system, fueling the narrative of a tragic demise brought on by substance dependence. However, many fans and conspiracy theorists argue that the official story fails to tell the whole truth. Some speculate that Elvis's death might have been staged to escape the relentless pressures of stardom, pointing to alleged sightings of him in the years following his death and inconsistencies in the events surrounding his passing. Others suggest more sinister possibilities, such as foul play orchestrated by individuals within his inner circle or those who stood to gain from his tragedy. Elvis's larger-than-life persona and enduring cultural impact have only added to the fascination with his death. To his fans, he was more than just a performer. He was a symbol of an era, a trailblazer who redefined music and popular culture. This deep sense of connection has kept the theories alive, with some refusing to accept that such an iconic figure could meet an ordinary end. Even today, questions linger. Was Elvis's death a consequence of immense personal and professional pressures, or does the truth lie in one of the many alternative narratives? His passing remains a subject of intense debate, a reflection of his unparalleled influence and the mystique that continues to surround his life. As we leave the gates of Graceland and the mysteries of Memphis behind, our journey now takes us to ancient Babylon, where the fate of one of the greatest conquerors in history unfolds. As the next phase of the journey comes into view, we delve into the ancient world of Babylon to uncover the mysterious demise of Alexander the Great, one of history's most legendary conquerors. In the year 323 before the Common Era, Alexander, at the age of just 32, succumbed to an untimely and still debated death. Having forged an empire that stretched from Greece to India, his sudden passing left his followers and historians alike grappling with questions that remain unanswered to this day. The historical accounts of Alexander's final days describe a sudden illness that began after a banquet in his honor. Ancient texts speak of fever, intense abdominal pain, and ultimately his inability to move or speak. While these symptoms might suggest a natural cause such as typhoid fever or malaria, both common in the region at the time, other theories propose a more sinister narrative. Some ancient sources hint at the possibility of poisoning, potentially orchestrated by members of his inner circle, political rivals, or disillusioned generals. Yet, the poisoning theory has been met with skepticism by modern researchers, as the timeline of his decline, spanning several days, does not align with the rapid effects typically associated with most ancient poisons. Modern science has also weighed in on the mystery. Some researchers have suggested that Alexander could have succumbed to pancreatitis caused by heavy drinking, or perhaps a rare autoimmune disorder like Guillain-Barré syndrome, which might explain his gradual paralysis. Others propose that he could have died from complications of an old battle wound, exacerbated by the harsh conditions of his relentless campaigns. Despite these theories, no definitive evidence exists, and the lack of conclusive historical records further clouds the truth. Compounding the intrigue surrounding his death is the political chaos it unleashed. With no clear successor to his sprawling empire, rival factions quickly descended into decades of turmoil, carving up his territories in a series of bloody conflicts. This power vacuum has led some to question whether Alexander's death was truly natural, or if it was a calculated move by those eager to seize control of his legacy. Adding to the mythos of his death is the fact that his body, reportedly preserved in a gold sarcophagus, disappeared from historical records centuries later, leaving yet another layer of mystery. Was this disappearance the result of looting, or did it signify something deeper, possibly tied to attempts to erase or exploit his enduring influence? Even now, over 2 millennia later, Alexander the Great's death continues to captivate historians, scientists, and storytellers. Was it illness, treachery, or perhaps a combination of factors? As with so many of history's great mysteries, the lack of definitive answers only fuels the fascination. Moving forward, we journey from the heart of Babylon into the shadows of Imperial Russia, where yet another puzzling death has kept the world guessing for generations. Moving forward, we step into the turbulent world of Imperial Russia to examine the enigma surrounding Anastasia Romanov, the youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II. In the wake of the Bolshevik Revolution, the Romanov family was executed in 1918, marking the end of centuries of imperial rule. Yet, amidst the chaos of their deaths, whispers began to emerge, a spark of hope that Anastasia had somehow survived the brutal massacre. This tale of survival captured imaginations worldwide, fueling books, films, and countless rumors over the decades. The mystery of Anastasia's fate largely stems from the chaotic circumstances surrounding the Romanovs' execution. Historical accounts detail how the family, along with a few loyal attendants, were taken to a basement in Yekaterinburg under the pretense of relocation. There, they were met with a sudden and violent end, but the hasty nature of the burial left room for speculation. When the first Romanov remains were unearthed in the late 20th century, 2 bodies were notably missing, those believed to belong to Anastasia and her younger brother Alexei. This absence reignited hopes that Anastasia might have escaped, bolstered by the emergence of several women claiming to be the lost Duchess. Among the most famous impostors was Anna Anderson, who surfaced in the 1920s, insisting she was Anastasia. Her story garnered significant attention, dividing public opinion and even capturing the interest of surviving Romanov relatives. Anderson's claims, however, were met with skepticism, and subsequent investigations failed to provide conclusive evidence of her identity. Decades later, advancements in science finally put the controversy to rest. In the early 2000s, DNA analysis of remains discovered in a separate grave confirmed that Anastasia and Alexei had indeed perished alongside their family. These findings closed the chapter on the myth of Anastasia's survival, but the enduring fascination speaks to the power of hope and the allure of a mystery that defies the harshness of history. To this day, Anastasia Romanov's story serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of truth amidst political upheaval. While science has seemingly provided answers, the romanticized idea of her survival lingers in popular culture, a symbol of resilience in the face of unimaginable tragedy. As we leave behind the echoes of the Russian Revolution, our journey takes us to the streets of Paris, where a beloved princess's untimely death left the world in shock and disbelief. With the next phase of the journey in sight, we find ourselves in the heart of Paris in the year 1997, where the world witnessed the devastating loss of Diana, Princess of Wales. Her death, caused by a high-speed car crash in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, shook the globe and plunged millions into mourning. Diana, often hailed as the People's Princess, was more than a member of the British royal family. She was a cultural icon, a humanitarian, and a symbol of grace, compassion, and vulnerability. Yet her tragic end raised questions that continue to stir debate decades later. The official narrative attributes the crash to a combination of factors: the driver, Henry Paul, being under the influence of alcohol, the vehicle dramatically exceeding safe speed limits, and relentless paparazzi pursuing the car. But as the grief-stricken public tried to make sense of the tragedy, doubts began to emerge. Could such a sudden and violent end really be the result of reckless decisions, or was there something more sinister at play? Allegations and theories soon surfaced, pointing toward potential foul play, with some suggesting involvement from the British royal family or other shadowy entities. These theories gained traction partly because of Diana's own words. She had expressed fears of being targeted in such a manner during her tumultuous separation from Prince Charles, leaving an eerie trail of forewarnings in her personal letters. Among the most persistent suspicions was the question of whether Diana's relationship with Dodi Fade, her companion at the time, might have provoked forces intent on preventing their union. Some speculate that the couple's romantic ties, possibly leading to marriage, were seen as controversial by those within powerful circles, sparking speculation of calculated interference. Investigations into the crash, including an exhaustive inquiry led by British authorities in the early 2000s, ultimately concluded that no evidence supported these conspiracy theories. Their findings reaffirmed the initial assessment. The tragedy was a result of human error, compounded by the invasive pursuit of paparazzi desperate for a photograph. Still, the fascination surrounding Diana's death remains as potent as ever. Her unprecedented celebrity status, combined with the sensational nature of her passing, ensured her legacy would be forever intertwined with mystery and speculation. Diana's untimely death not only highlighted the darker side of fame, but also spurred changes in the way the media handles public figures, particularly when it comes to invasions of privacy and safety. Today, her life and legacy inspire books, films, and documentaries, keeping her memory alive in the hearts of millions. As the sun rises on the next chapter of our exploration, we shift from the tragedy of Diana's passing to the haunting tale of a rock music legend. In the fateful summer of 1971, a voice that defined a generation was silenced under circumstances as perplexing as they were tragic. As the sun rises on the next chapter of our exploration, we turn to the sultry streets of Paris once again, but this time in the summer of 1971. Here we find Jim Morrison, the enigmatic and electrifying frontman of The Doors, whose untimely death at the age of 27 has remained shrouded in mystery for over half a century. Morrison, known for his poetic lyrics, charismatic stage presence, and rebellious spirit, was found lifeless in the bathtub of his apartment. The official cause of death was listed as heart failure, but no autopsy was ever performed, an omission that has fueled decades of speculation and conjecture. Some believe that Morrison's death was the tragic culmination of substance abuse, pointing to his well-documented history with alcohol and drugs. Others, however, suggest that the circumstances surrounding his passing were far from straightforward. Witness accounts are inconsistent, with some claiming he appeared healthy in the days leading up to his death, while others recall signs of distress or instability. Adding to the intrigue are whispers that Morrison may have overdosed on heroin, a drug he reportedly avoided, potentially after unknowingly consuming some. This theory is supported by rumors that his girlfriend, Pamela Courson, who was with him at the time, had ties to the substance, further complicating the narrative. Yet, perhaps the most tantalizing theory of all is the suggestion that Morrison faked his death and disappeared into obscurity to escape the pressures of fame. Proponents of this idea point to his fascination with death as a theme in his art and poetry, as well as his known admiration for figures like Arthur Rimbaud, who famously walked away from his artistic career at a young age. Over the years, alleged sightings of Morrison in various parts of the world and cryptic messages in his writings and music have only added fuel to this captivating idea. Morrison's death marked the end of an era, not just for the Doors, but for a generation that saw him as a symbol of countercultural rebellion. It also cemented his place in the infamous 27 Club, a group of artists who tragically passed away at the same young age, leaving behind legacies that would grow larger in death than life. Whether his end was the result of personal demons, an accident, or a carefully orchestrated escape, Jim Morrison's story continues to captivate and inspire, ensuring that his voice echoes on, defying the silence of that fateful summer day. With the echoes of Morrison's haunting lyrics still resonating, we now move to a different kind of mystery, one defined not by music but by a daring act of crime. In the crisp November air of 1971, an unidentified man would step into history, leaving behind one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the modern age. Moving forward, we delve into the enigma of D.B. Cooper, a name synonymous with one of the most audacious crimes in modern history. The story begins on a chilly November day in 1971, when a man identified only as Dan Cooper purchased a one-way ticket on a flight from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. Calm and composed, Cooper boarded the plane, blending seamlessly with the other passengers until mid-flight, when he handed a note to a flight attendant, revealing that he had a bomb in his briefcase. What followed was a meticulously executed hijacking. Demanding $200,000 in ransom and 4 parachutes, Cooper left authorities in a state of panic, quickly securing his demands upon landing in Seattle. The turning point came after takeoff when Cooper, with the ransom money in hand, opened the rear stairs of the aircraft and leaped into the darkness somewhere over the remote wilderness of the Pacific Northwest. What happened next remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. Despite an extensive manhunt, not a single conclusive trace of Cooper was ever found. Theories abound as to whether he survived the jump or met a grim fate in the rugged terrain below. Some believe that Cooper, armed with a detailed plan and skilled in parachuting, managed to escape and start a new life under a different identity. Others argue that the perilous conditions that night, a cold, stormy sky with unpredictable winds, would have made his survival nearly impossible. Adding to the intrigue, 9 years after the heist, a young boy stumbled upon a bundle of deteriorating $20 bills along the banks of the Columbia River. The serial numbers matched the ransom money, yet this discovery only deepened the mystery. Did Cooper lose the money during his jump, or did he intentionally abandon it to mislead investigators? No definitive answers have ever emerged, and while several suspects have been put forward over the decades, not one has been conclusively identified as the elusive hijacker. Cooper's case captured the imagination of a nation, becoming a cultural phenomenon that continues to inspire books, films, and endless speculation. Was he a criminal mastermind who vanished without a trace, or a desperate individual whose daring leap ended in tragedy? Perhaps we will never know. What remains certain is that D.B. Cooper's audacious act has etched his name into the annals of mystery, ensuring his story endures as a symbol of intrigue and unanswered questions. As the shadow of Cooper's story lingers, we now turn to another figure whose death marked the end of an era and the beginning of an enduring mystery. It is time to revisit the fateful night of 1865, when a gunshot in a theater would forever alter the course of history. Now turning to the murder of Abraham Lincoln, we step into one of the most pivotal moments in American history, an event that shocked a nation and reshaped its future. On the evening of April 14, 1865, the atmosphere at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. was one of celebration. The Civil War had ended just days before, and President Abraham Lincoln, accompanied by his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, attended a performance of Our American Cousin, in what was meant to be a moment of solace and normalcy after years of national turmoil. Little did anyone know that a sinister plot was unfolding in the shadows. As the performance reached its climactic moments, John Wilkes Booth, a well-known actor and Confederate sympathizer, slipped into the presidential box unnoticed. With a single shot from a Derringer pistol, Booth struck down the 16th president, delivering a fatal wound to the back of his head. Chaos erupted in the theater as Booth leapt onto the stage, reportedly shouting a phrase that many still debate to this day. He fled the scene, sparking one of the largest manhunts in American history. Booth was cornered and killed 12 days later, but the questions surrounding his actions and motives endure. Was he truly acting alone, or was the assassination part of a broader conspiracy orchestrated by Confederate loyalists seeking revenge for their defeat? Several individuals were arrested and tried as co-conspirators, with some even executed, yet doubts about their involvement persist. Booth's connections to other Confederate sympathizers and secret organizations have fueled theories of a wider, more calculated plan, potentially implicating figures with far-reaching influence. Adding to the mystery are Booth's own writings and statements, which suggest a deep-seated belief that killing Lincoln would reignite the Confederate cause. Was this delusion born out of desperation, or was he encouraged by others who shared his radical views? Despite years of historical analysis, papers, and investigations, the full story of who might have been pulling strings, or whether Booth truly acted of his own accord, remains elusive. The assassination of Abraham Lincoln was more than the death of a president. It was a symbolic attack on the ideals of unity and democracy he represented. Even now, over 150 years later, the events of that night continue to provoke contemplation and debate. Booth's actions left a wound in the American psyche, and the questions surrounding his motives and complicity in a possible larger conspiracy remain as haunting as the echo of that gunshot in Ford's Theater. With this tragic chapter of history in mind, we move ahead to another figure whose sudden and untimely death has sparked waves of speculation and controversy. The story of Bruce Lee is one of incredible talent, mysterious circumstances, and enduring questions. Now turning to the mysterious death of Bruce Lee, we delve into the untimely passing of a martial arts icon whose impact reached far beyond the world of film and combat. On July 20, 1973, Bruce Lee was at the height of his fame, a global superstar reshaping the perception of martial arts through his movies and philosophies. On that fateful day, Lee was in Hong Kong preparing for his next film project when he reportedly complained of a headache and took a pain reliever prescribed to him by a friend. Hours later, he was found unresponsive. The official cause of death was listed as cerebral edema, a swelling of the brain, which many believe was triggered by an allergic reaction to the medication. However, this explanation has done little to quell the questions and suspicions surrounding his sudden demise. Some theories suggest Lee's death was not a mere accident but the result of foul play. Could he have been poisoned due to professional rivalries or connections to the criminal underworld? Others point to the intense physical regimen he maintained, speculating that his body may have been pushed beyond its limits. There are even claims rooted in superstition, asserting that Lee was the victim of a so-called family curse, a theory that gained traction after the equally tragic and mysterious death of his son, Brandon Lee, under eerily similar circumstances. Brandon, much like his father, was a rising star when he died in 1993 on the set of the movie The Crow, after being accidentally shot due to a prop gun mishap. The parallels between their deaths, both occurring at a young age, both surrounded by confusion and unanswered questions, have fueled a mythos that transcends any single explanation. Was it simply misfortune, or could there be more to the stories of these two men whose lives seemed destined to be both extraordinary and heartbreakingly short? Bruce Lee's death marked the loss of more than just a martial artist. It was the loss of a pioneer who bridged cultures and inspired countless people worldwide. His sudden passing left a void filled with speculation, and the lingering questions serve as a reminder of the fragility of life, even for those who seem larger than life. As we move from the enigmatic end of Bruce Lee's story, we now step into another perplexing mystery, one that continues to capture imaginations and spark debate. The unresolved circumstances surrounding Vincent van Gogh's death bring forth questions about the nature of genius, despair, and the stories we choose to believe. Now turning to the unresolved facts of Vincent van Gogh's death, we find ourselves immersed in the tragic and complex story of one of history's most revered painters. On July 29, 1890, Van Gogh passed away at the age of 37 in the small French town of Auvers-sur-Oise. It has long been accepted that he died from a gunshot wound to the chest, an injury that many believed was self-inflicted during a moment of despair. His struggles with mental health, including depression and episodes of psychosis, are well documented and often cited as evidence supporting the theory of suicide. Yet, despite this widely held belief, questions about the true circumstances of his death have persisted for over a century. Was Van Gogh's death truly the result of his own hand, or could it have been a tragic accident? Some modern historians and researchers argue that the painter was accidentally shot by local youths who were known for their reckless behavior and fascination with firearms. According to this theory, the fatal injury may have been the unintended consequence of an unfortunate encounter, with Van Gogh possibly shielding the boys from blame by claiming responsibility for the wound. This alternative explanation has gained traction, particularly after the publication of later biographical studies that cast doubt on the details of the alleged suicide. Eyewitness accounts from that period add another layer of mystery. Though Van Gogh reportedly managed to walk back to the inn where he was lodging after being shot, the exact location of the incident remains uncertain. He provided vague and inconsistent statements about what had occurred, further fueling speculation. The lack of a firearm found at the scene has also led some to question how he could have carried out the act himself. Additionally, forensic analyses and modern interpretations of the evidence suggest that the angle and trajectory of the bullet might not align with a self-inflicted wound, lending credibility to the theory of accidental shooting or even foul play. The debate surrounding Van Gogh's final days extends beyond his death, touching upon the themes of isolation, genius, and misunderstood brilliance. In his last 70 days, Van Gogh produced over 70 paintings, an extraordinary output that reflects both his artistic fervor and his internal turmoil. The vivid colors and emotional intensity of his works have led many to interpret his art as a window into his state of mind during those pivotal final moments. Van Gogh's death, much like his life, remains an enigma, a puzzle that invites endless interpretation but offers no definitive answers. Whether by his own hand or through an unforeseen tragedy, the loss of Vincent van Gogh marked the end of a short yet profoundly impactful life. His story continues to captivate and inspire, a testament to the enduring power of art and the mysteries that surround the lives of great creators. As we leave the questions of Van Gogh's death behind, we now journey into another case clouded by intrigue and superstition. The curse of King Tutankhamun and the alleged dangers tied to the discovery of his tomb remain topics that spark fascination and fear even to this day. Moving forward to the curse of King Tutankhamun, we delve into a story that has captured imaginations and fueled speculation for over a century. In 1922, the discovery of the tomb of the boy king, Tutankhamun, marked one of the most significant archaeological finds in history. However, it was not just the treasures of the tomb that made headlines, but also the ominous tales of a curse said to afflict those who dared to disturb the pharaoh's eternal rest. The sudden and untimely death of Lord Carnarvon, the financial backer of the excavation, only a few months after the tomb was opened, became the cornerstone of this legend. Stricken by a mysterious illness, his death coincided with a series of baffling incidents, including a sudden blackout in Cairo and reports that his dog had howled and died at the exact moment of his passing. But was this so-called curse truly the work of supernatural forces, or could more rational explanations account for the chain of events? Skeptics argue that the deaths and illnesses linked to the tomb's discovery were coincidental or the result of natural causes such as exposure to ancient molds and bacteria. The sealed environment of the tomb, untouched for millennia, could have harbored toxic substances that posed serious health risks to those who entered. These scientific perspectives have provided some balance to the narrative, yet they have done little to quell the enduring allure of the curse. The story of the curse has been further sensationalized by media coverage and popular culture. Films, books, and documentaries have played a pivotal role in cementing the idea of a pharaoh's wrath into the public consciousness. In reality, not all individuals associated with the excavation suffered misfortune. Many, including Howard Carter, the lead archaeologist, lived long and productive lives. Still, the selective focus on eerie coincidences and untimely deaths keeps the myth alive. Beyond the question of its authenticity, the legend of the curse has had a profound impact on archaeology itself. It has raised awareness about the ethical considerations of excavating tombs and brought attention to the need for preserving ancient sites with care and respect. Additionally, the intrigue surrounding King Tutankhamun has significantly contributed to the global fascination with ancient Egypt, making the boy king an enduring symbol of mystery and wonder. As with any great tale, the curse of King Tutankhamun blurs the line between fact and fiction, science and superstition. Whether a mere coincidence of tragic events or a manifestation of an ancient warning, the legend continues to spark debates and curiosity. Leaving behind the shadows of King Tut's tomb, we now turn to the assassination of John F. Kennedy, a moment that forever altered the course of American history and remains one of the most scrutinized events of the 20th century. Now turning to the tragic death of John F. Kennedy, we explore an event that not only shocked the world but also gave rise to a labyrinth of questions and theories that linger to this day. On November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas, the 35th President of the United States was fatally shot while riding in an open motorcade. Official investigations identified Lee Harvey Oswald as the lone gunman responsible for the assassination. However, the findings of the Warren Commission have been met with widespread skepticism, fueling speculation about who might have truly orchestrated this pivotal act. Was Oswald merely a scapegoat for a much larger conspiracy? Over the years, theories about Kennedy's assassination have implicated a long list of potential culprits. Some believe the Central Intelligence Agency may have been involved, alleging that Kennedy's efforts to curb their activities made him a target. Others theorize that the organized crime world, angered by the administration's crackdown on corruption and racketeering, might have played a role. Foreign governments have also been implicated, with claims that entities like the Soviet Union or Cuba had motives rooted in Cold War tensions. Adding to the intrigue are the mysterious deaths of key witnesses and inconsistencies in evidence, such as disputed autopsy reports and conflicting eyewitness accounts of the number and direction of the shots fired. One of the most enduring points of contention revolves around the infamous magic bullet theory, which suggests that a single bullet caused multiple wounds to both Kennedy and Texas Governor John Connally, who was riding in the car with him. This theory, central to the claim that Oswald acted alone, has been hotly debated and dissected by forensic experts, historians, and theorists alike. Critics argue that the trajectory and impact of the bullet defy the laws of physics, while others contend that modern analysis supports the theory's plausibility. Further complicating the narrative is the enigmatic role of Lee Harvey Oswald himself. Just 2 days after Kennedy's assassination, Oswald was fatally shot by nightclub owner Jack Ruby while in police custody. Ruby's sudden act of violence eliminated the opportunity for Oswald to testify, leaving crucial questions unanswered. Why did Ruby take such a drastic step? Was he acting out of patriotism, as he claimed, or was he silencing Oswald on behalf of larger, shadowy interests? Perhaps what makes the Kennedy assassination so captivating is not just the magnitude of the tragedy, but the profound sense of uncertainty that surrounds it. Despite countless investigations, documentaries, books, and even digital recreations of the events, definitive answers remain elusive. This enduring uncertainty has etched the event into the collective psyche, ensuring that debates continue to rage on nearly 60 years later. With each new piece of evidence, the public grapples with the balance between seeking truth and accepting ambiguity. Moving forward, we shift from the motorcade in Dallas to the dark alleys of Victorian London, where another infamous mystery, the identity of Jack the Ripper, has haunted historians and criminologists for more than a century. Now turning to the shadowy streets of Victorian London, we arrive at the chilling mystery of Jack the Ripper, one of the most infamous unsolved cases in history. In the autumn of 1888, a series of brutal murders targeting women in Whitacapel sent shockwaves through the city. The victims, all from impoverished backgrounds, were killed with such precision that speculation quickly arose about the murderer's identity, with theories ranging from a disgruntled local to a highly skilled surgeon. The name Jack the Ripper itself emerged from letters sent to the press allegedly by the killer, taunting authorities with grotesque details. However, even the authenticity of these letters remains in question. But who was Jack the Ripper, and why did the killings suddenly stop? This question has haunted investigators and historians for over a century. Dozens of suspects have been proposed, from royal figures to ordinary tradesmen, and even artists like Walter Sickert. Some theories point to Aaron Kosminski, a Polish barber whose mental instability and proximity to the crime scenes made him a person of interest. Other suspects include Montague Druitt, whose mysterious death shortly after the final murder raised eyebrows, and James Maybrick, a cotton merchant whose possible diary confession caused a stir but lacked substantial evidence. Modern DNA analysis has even attempted to link genetic material found at the crime scenes to specific suspects, though results remain inconclusive. Adding to the enigma is the methodology of the murders themselves. Jack the Ripper was not just a killer but a figure who operated with eerie precision during a time of growing urbanization and police reform. The use of dimly lit alleyways and the careful selection of secluded locations suggest someone who knew Whitacapel intimately. Yet, the absence of definitive evidence has left each hypothesis open to interpretation. Was the Ripper an individual with a deranged motive, a calculated predator meeting a specific agenda, or even part of a larger network of crime? The abrupt cessation of the killings has also fueled speculation. Did the murderer pass away, get incarcerated for unrelated crimes, or flee the city? Some suggest Jack the Ripper's sudden disappearance was intentional, possibly signaling a killer who had achieved their twisted goal or no longer found opportunity in the rapidly changing environment of London. Others propose that the Ripper might have changed their methods or identities, escaping detection altogether. Despite extensive research, re-examinations of archival material, and advancements in forensic technology, the mystery of Jack the Ripper remains as elusive as ever. This case represents more than a series of heinous crimes. It symbolizes the ultimate challenge in criminal investigation, the struggle to uncover truth in the face of incomplete evidence and misinformation. Over 130 years later, theories continue to proliferate, sparking debates and captivating the public imagination. With every new analysis, the legend of Jack the Ripper grows, proving that some mysteries may never fully be solved. As the chilling fog of Whitacapel recedes, our next mystery leads us to Colombia, where the death of notorious drug lord Pablo Escobar raises questions about the boundary between myth and reality. Now turning to the sun-soaked hills of Medellin, we unravel the mystery surrounding the dramatic death of Pablo Escobar, a man whose name became synonymous with both unbridled wealth and unrelenting violence. On December 2, 1993, Colombia's most infamous drug lord met his end on the rooftop of a modest neighborhood house. Official accounts claim it was a triumphant moment for law enforcement, a fatal shootout culminating in Escobar's downfall after years of pursuit. However, the circumstances of his death leave room for interpretation, fueling speculation and myth. Some believe the gunfire that struck him down was delivered by a special police task force, a celebrated achievement that marked the culmination of a decade-long war against cartel violence. Yet, others argue that Escobar, cornered and out of options, may have taken his own life to avoid capture and humiliation. This theory gained support from his own words. Escobar had once declared that he would rather have a tomb in Colombia than a prison cell in the United States. The fatal bullet wound to his head, some suggest, may not align perfectly with a sniper's aim, but with a self-inflicted shot, a final act of defiance. Adding to the complexity are whispers of external involvement. Could rival cartels, eager to see the Medellin cartel's reign end, have played a hidden role? Or did the United States, deeply invested in the war on drugs, have an unseen hand in Escobar's demise? The operation that led to his death involved not just Colombian authorities, but also intelligence assistance from American agencies, creating further intrigue about how events truly unfolded. Escobar's legacy, however, transcends the manner of his death. To some, he remains a symbol of terror, responsible for thousands of deaths, widespread corruption, and destabilization at an unprecedented scale. To others, particularly in his hometown, he is remembered for his Robin Hood-like efforts funding housing projects, building soccer fields, and offering financial support to the poor. This dichotomy only deepens the magnetism of his story, with his death marking the end of an era but not the end of his legend. Even today, the myths surrounding Pablo Escobar's death persist. Was it truly the victory law enforcement portrayed, or a carefully constructed narrative to close a dark chapter in Colombia's history? The truth may lie somewhere between fact and fiction, just as Escobar himself straddled the line between villain and folk hero. As the echoes of Medellin fade, we move forward to a turbulent chapter in literary history, exploring the violent and suspicious death of the playwright Christopher Marlowe. As the sun rises on the next chapter, we delve into the enigmatic and violent end of Christopher Marlowe, the celebrated yet controversial playwright of Elizabethan England. In the year 1593, Marlowe's life was cut short at the age of 29 under circumstances as dramatic and puzzling as the plays he penned. Official records state that he died in a brawl at a tavern in Deptford, a small village near London. The quarrel allegedly erupted over a bill, a mundane and trivial dispute for a man of such profound intellect. But was this really the whole story, or do darker motives lurk beneath the surface of this historic death? Marlowe was more than just a playwright. He was a man enveloped in intrigue, whispers of atheism, and accusations of espionage. His connections to high-ranking individuals in Elizabethan society and his suspected role as a spy for the English crown have led many to believe that his death was no ordinary altercation. Could Marlowe, who moved in circles of power and secrecy, have been silenced as part of a larger political scheme? His unorthodox views and outspoken nature may have earned him dangerous enemies, making him a potential target for assassination. Some theorists point to his arrest just days before his death for alleged blasphemy, suggesting that his outspoken beliefs had finally crossed a line with the wrong people. Eyewitness accounts from the time add another layer of complexity. The coroner's report describes the fatal wound, a dagger thrust above the right eye, but skeptics argue that the precision of such an attack seems inconsistent with a chaotic tavern fight. Instead, it aligns more closely with a premeditated act of murder. And what of the men present at the scene? Each had ties to government and intelligence operations, fueling speculation that this so-called brawl was orchestrated to eliminate a man who knew too much or had outlived his usefulness. Some even suggest that Marlowe's death may have been a cover-up, with theories ranging from faking his death to exile under a new identity. Could he have staged his demise to escape mounting pressures and continue his work in secret? While such ideas remain speculative, they illustrate the enduring fascination with Marlowe's abrupt and unexplained end. His death left a void in the literary world, cutting short the career of a writer whose influence still resonates in modern times. Christopher Marlowe's story is one of brilliance, controversy, and untimely death. Like the man himself, the circumstances of his demise remain shrouded in mystery, inviting endless questions but offering few concrete answers. With these unresolved threads lingering, we now pivot to a figure whose final days are equally contentious, examining the claustrophobic depths of Adolf Hitler's bunker as World War II drew to a close. As the next phase of the journey unfolds, we enter the final days of Adolf Hitler's life, a period steeped in secrecy, speculation, and conflicting accounts. In April of 1945, with Berlin crumbling under relentless Allied bombardment and Soviet forces closing in, Hitler retreated to the fortified depths of his underground bunker. It was here, in this claustrophobic stronghold beneath the Reich Chancellery, that he is widely believed to have taken his own life on April 30th. However, despite the official narrative of suicide by gunshot alongside Eva Braun, questions and theories about what truly happened in those final hours have persisted for decades. Eyewitness testimonies from those who were in the bunker paint a grim picture of despair and foreboding as the Third Reich faced inevitable defeat. Hitler's close associates claimed to have seen his lifeless body, and after their reported deaths, both his and Braun's remains were said to be burned in the garden above to prevent desecration. But was this grim scene as straightforward as it appears, or is there more to the story than meets the eye? The absence of definitive forensic evidence has allowed conspiracy theories to flourish, breathing life into the possibility that Hitler may have escaped under the cover of the war's chaos. One of the more prominent theories suggests that Hitler did not die in Berlin but fled to South America, possibly Argentina, where he lived out the remainder of his life in secrecy. Proponents of this theory point to unverified accounts and alleged sightings of the dictator in the years following the war. The vast network of Nazi sympathizers across the globe and the documented escape of several high-ranking officials to South America lend just enough plausibility to this idea to keep it alive in the collective imagination. But how much truth is there to these claims? Skeptics argue that the logistical challenges of such an escape, coupled with the lack of concrete evidence, render this scenario highly unlikely. Modern investigations and forensic science have sought to bring clarity to this enduring mystery. Analysis of skeletal remains thought to belong to Hitler and Braun has been inconclusive, with some studies suggesting inconsistencies in the evidence. This lack of a definitive resolution has only fueled the fire of speculation, ensuring that the debate over Hitler's fate continues to intrigue historians and conspiracy theorists alike. As with many historical mysteries, the truth about Adolf Hitler's final moments may never be fully uncovered. Whether he perished in the bunker or vanished into obscurity, his death marked the end of one of history's darkest chapters. And as we leave behind the shadowy confines of Berlin's underground, we shift our focus to the disappearance of an American adventurer, navigating the uncharted waters of Michael Rockefeller's fate in the jungles of Papua New Guinea. With the next phase of the journey in sight, we turn our attention to the perplexing disappearance of Michael Rockefeller in 1961, an enigma that has captivated imaginations and raised questions about survival, cultural intersections, and the unknown. Michael, the son of Nelson Rockefeller, a prominent American politician and businessman, vanished while on an expedition in Papua New Guinea, a remote and challenging region known for its dense jungles, unpredictable waters, and rich, complex cultures. As the 23-year-old traveled in search of art and artifacts from the indigenous Asmat people, his catamaran overturned in rough seas, leaving him and his companion stranded. While his associate was rescued, Michael decided to swim for help, a decision that marked the beginning of one of history's most enduring mysteries. Speculation about Michael's fate abounds, with some theories suggesting he was lost to the sea, succumbing to exhaustion, drowning, or being taken by the region's infamous crocodile population. But perhaps the most controversial and gripping idea is that Michael may have encountered local tribes who, at the time, practiced rituals unfamiliar to Western understanding. Stories of possible cannibalism have circulated for decades, fueled by fragmented accounts and the inherent mystery surrounding his disappearance. Such theories, while shocking, are often discussed in the broader context of cultural misunderstandings and the challenges of bridging disparate worldviews during that era. Another possibility is that Michael chose to disappear, abandoning his privileged life to live among the very people who fascinated him so deeply. This idea aligns with his documented curiosity and passion for exploring and understanding diverse cultures, though it remains pure speculation with no concrete evidence to support it. Over time, sensationalism, hearsay, and a lack of definitive answers have made it difficult to separate fact from fiction, ensuring that the story remains a fertile ground for imagination and debate. Decades later, Michael's disappearance continues to resonate, not only because of its dramatic circumstances but also due to its profound cultural and historical implications. It highlights the complexities of cross-cultural encounters and the allure and danger of venturing into the unknown. Was Michael a tragic victim of the untamed environment, or did his story take a more extraordinary turn? The absence of resolution ensures that the mystery endures, leaving us to ponder the limits of our understanding and the whispers of untold stories that remain hidden in history's shadows. And as we close the chapter on Michael Rockefeller's fate, we turn our focus to the conclusion of these 25 stories, where we reflect on the enduring power of historical mysteries to captivate, confound, and connect us all. As the sun rises on the next chapter, we delve into the lasting impact of Cleopatra's mysterious death and how it has shaped her legacy as a powerful and enigmatic female ruler. Cleopatra, the final queen of ancient Egypt, left behind a story that has fascinated generations not only because of her political brilliance, but also due to the unanswered questions surrounding her demise. Her supposed suicide by snakebite is often seen as a calculated act of defiance, preserving her dignity in the face of potential humiliation by Octavian. However, the uncertainty over whether this was truly her choice or the result of a more sinister plot has added an enduring layer of intrigue to her narrative. This duality of control versus victimization has solidified Cleopatra as a symbol of strength and complexity, a figure whose life, and especially her death, challenges our understanding of power and agency in history. Over centuries, her story has been retold in countless ways, from ancient writings to grand Hollywood films. Each retelling reflects not just the fascination with her charisma and intellect, but also how her mysterious end leaves room for interpretation and reinvention. In literature and cinema, Cleopatra has been portrayed as a tragic heroine, a cunning strategist, and even a femme fatale, embodying different ideals and fears depending on the cultural lens through which she is viewed. Her death has also inspired questions about loyalty, betrayal, and the cost of ambition. Was her death a political maneuver to protect her legacy, or a tragic end imposed by powers beyond her control? Such questions resonate far beyond the confines of ancient history, making Cleopatra's story timelessly relevant. Whether in Shakespeare's plays or modern pop culture, her life and death serve as a canvas onto which we project our own ideas about leadership, love, and resilience. Cleopatra's legacy is a testament to how history's mysteries can inspire not only academic fascination but also personal reflection, reminding us of the human stories behind the grand narratives. And as we reflect on Cleopatra's impact, her story proves that sometimes the greatest mysteries are those that leave us questioning what it truly means to reign, to fight, and to endure. As the next chapter of history unfolds, we step into the shadowy corridors of the Tower of London to re-examine one of England's most chilling mysteries: the disappearance and presumed deaths of Edward V and his younger brother, Richard. These two young princes were last seen in the year 1483, confined within the tower under the protective custody of their uncle, Richard III. At least, that was how it was officially portrayed. History, however, would come to paint their uncle not as a protector, but as the architect of their doom, a ruler so desperate to secure his claim to the throne that he allegedly orchestrated the murder of his own nephews. But was Richard III truly the villain that centuries of storytelling have made him out to be, or has history unfairly tarnished his reputation? Modern re-evaluations suggest that the case against Richard might not be as clear-cut as it seems. While Tudor propagandists worked hard to label him a usurper and a murderer, a narrative famously cemented by William Shakespeare's portrayal of him as a scheming hunchback, recent historians argue that alternative suspects may have had both the motive and opportunity to harm the princes. Henry Tudor, who later became King Henry VII, benefited immensely from the boy's disappearance as it eliminated two potential rivals to his claim. Could he or his supporters have been responsible instead? Additionally, some researchers question whether the princes were murdered at all. Skeptics point to the lack of definitive evidence, suggesting that the boys may have been secretly removed from the tower and lived out their lives in obscurity. Adding to the intrigue are the skeletons discovered beneath a staircase in the tower in the 17th century, widely believed to be the remains of the princes. Yet even this evidence is contested, as modern forensic testing has yet to conclusively prove their identity. Richard III's defenders also highlight his short reign as one marked by legal reforms and efforts to improve governance, portraying him as a ruler focused on justice rather than cruelty. Could it be that his enemies fabricated the story of the prince's murder to tarnish his image and legitimize their own rule? This debate is far from over, as each piece of evidence brings us no closer to a definitive answer, but instead deepens the enigma of what truly happened in the Tower of London. The story of the princes has come to symbolize the often murky intersection of power, ambition, and historical narrative. Whether Richard III was a guilty tyrant or a maligned victim of political slander, the mystery of the princes in the tower continues to challenge our understanding of how history is written and rewritten. As we leave behind the chilling tale of these lost princes, the question remains, whose hands were truly stained by their disappearance, and will the truth ever emerge from the shadows of the past? With the next phase of the journey in sight, we delve into one of the most scrutinized events of the 20th century, the assassination of John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States. This tragic event, which took place in Dallas, Texas on November 22, 1963, has sparked countless theories and debates ever since that fateful day. Officially, Lee Harvey Oswald was identified as the lone gunman who fired the fatal shots from the Texas schoolbook depository. However, questions about whether Oswald acted alone or if he was part of a broader conspiracy have refused to fade despite decades of investigation. Modern advancements in technology are now offering fresh perspectives on this enduring mystery. Forensic analysis has taken center stage, with enhancements in ballistics and digital modeling allowing experts to recreate the exact trajectory of the bullets with greater accuracy than ever before. By mapping the scene in three-dimensional space, researchers can analyze whether the evidence fully supports the single-shooter theory or if additional gunmen were involved. Artificial intelligence is also being utilized to sift through vast amounts of data, such as eyewitness accounts, audio recordings, and even declassified government documents, searching for patterns that human investigators might have missed. One of the most intriguing developments has been the re-examination of the infamous Zapruder film, a home movie that captured the shocking moment of Kennedy's assassination. Advanced image processing has allowed experts to analyze the footage frame by frame, looking for nuances that were previously undetectable with earlier technology. Could there be subtle inconsistencies in the timeline that point to a second shooter, or might the film confirm the official account once and for all? Beyond the technical realm, revelations from newly unsealed documents provide additional layers to the story. Files released in recent years have raised questions about Oswald's connections to intelligence agencies and foreign powers such as Cuba and the Soviet Union. Was he truly a lone actor, or might he have been a pawn in a much larger political game? These revelations have reignited debates about whether the truth has been deliberately obscured, fueling suspicions of a cover-up that extends far beyond a single assassin. The Kennedy assassination remains a powerful example of how history blends fact, theory, and speculation. As each new piece of evidence is unearthed or reevaluated, we inch closer to understanding what truly happened that day in Dallas. Yet, the mystery persists, reminding us of the limits of even the most advanced technologies when faced with the complexities of human history. Moving forward, we journey into another tale of political intrigue and power dynamics, one that takes us back to the waning days of World War II and the enigmatic fate of Adolf Hitler. As the next challenge unfolds, we step into the shadowy corridors of post-war rumors surrounding Adolf Hitler's fate. Official accounts state that Hitler died by suicide in his Berlin bunker on April 30, 1945, as Soviet forces closed in on the city. However, whispers of his survival emerged almost immediately, giving rise to theories that he had escaped and lived out his days in secret. These claims gained traction in the chaos of the post-war years, fueled by conflicting reports from eyewitnesses, absence of a definitive body, and the murky details surrounding the aftermath of his supposed death. One of the most enduring theories is that Hitler fled to South America, a region that already harbored a network of Nazi operatives who had relocated there after the war. Argentina, in particular, became a hotspot for speculation, with numerous alleged sightings of Hitler reported in the country's remote towns and jungles. Proponents of this theory point to Argentina's history of providing refuge to prominent Nazi figures, such as Adolf Eichmann and Joseph Mengele, as potential evidence that Hitler could have been smuggled there as well. Some accounts even claim sightings of Hitler living under an assumed identity, detailing everything from his supposed physical appearance to his daily routines, a chilling possibility that has captivated conspiracy theorists for decades. Historical revisionism has both debunked and fueled these theories. Forensic advancements, including the analysis of skull fragments recovered from the Berlin bunker, have aimed to provide clarity. In 2009, Russian authorities allowed forensic experts to examine these fragments, but the results only deepened the mystery. Initial reports suggested that the skull belonged to a woman, sparking new waves of speculation. While some historians argue this was a misinterpretation of the evidence, others see it as a sign that questions about Hitler's death remain far from settled. Further complicating the narrative is the declassification of intelligence documents by agencies such as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which contain reports of alleged Hitler sightings spanning the late 1940s and 50s. While most of these accounts are unverified and often lack credibility, their sheer volume is remarkable. Did the Allies deliberately perpetuate the ambiguity surrounding Hitler's fate to serve political interests during the early years of the Cold War? Or were these reports simply the result of hysteria and misinformation in a world grappling with the enormity of Nazi atrocities? Despite the allure of these conspiracy theories, the consensus among most historians remains clear. Hitler died in his bunker in 1945, and the stories of his escape are largely the product of exaggerated rumors and fabricated evidence. Yet the persistence of these theories highlights a universal truth about history. When faced with a figure as polarizing and destructive as Adolf Hitler, there is a natural human tendency to search for more, to uncover hidden truths, or to challenge the official narrative. Ultimately, these lingering questions serve as a reminder of how easily myth can intertwine with history, keeping even the darkest chapters of our past alive in the collective imagination. With this understanding, we now turn to an equally mysterious disappearance that continues to confound researchers and historians: the vanishing of Michael Rockefeller. As the sun rises on the next chapter, we delve into the enigmatic disappearance of Michael Rockefeller and its profound cultural reverberations. In 1961, Michael Rockefeller, the 23-year-old son of Nelson Rockefeller, vanished while on an expedition in Papua New Guinea. He had been studying the Asmat people, an indigenous group renowned for their intricate wood carvings and profoundly unique cultural practices. While the exact circumstances of Michael's disappearance remain an unsolved mystery, ranging from theories of drowning to speculation about encounters with local tribes, the event has had lasting implications far beyond his untimely fate. Michael's disappearance thrust the Asmat people into the global spotlight, exposing a broader audience to their culture at a time when indigenous societies were largely viewed through a lens of exoticism and misunderstanding. The Asmat's artistic traditions, rituals, and way of life became points of fascination, but this attention also raised questions about the ethics of Western exploration and the balance between cultural appreciation and exploitation. For decades, Michael's disappearance has been framed not just as a personal tragedy, but as a pivotal moment that highlighted the fragile dynamics between indigenous communities and outside forces seeking to document or influence their lives. In the field of anthropology, Michael Rockefeller's story serves as both a cautionary tale and a source of inspiration. His commitment to understanding the Asmat people on their terms reflected a progressive, albeit nascent, approach to cultural study for the era. Anthropologists were encouraged to see beyond the exoticism of indigenous cultures, focusing instead on their intrinsic value and complexity. Yet, his disappearance also underscored the dangers and ethical dilemmas of such endeavors, emphasizing the need for more respectful and sustainable approaches when engaging with vulnerable communities. The global fascination with Michael Rockefeller's fate also fueled a wave of speculative storytelling, from documentaries to fictionalized accounts. These narratives often romanticized or distorted the cultural realities of the Asmat people, perpetuating stereotypes that hindered genuine understanding. At the same time, they sparked important conversations about the lasting impact of colonialism, the consequences of cultural intrusion, and the ways in which indigenous identities are shaped or misrepresented by external narratives. Reflecting on Michael Rockefeller's disappearance reveals a layered legacy. On one hand, his story brought the cultural richness of the Asmat people to the attention of a global audience, fostering greater interest in and appreciation for indigenous art and traditions. On the other, it highlighted how such exposure can come at a cost, both for the communities involved and for the historical accuracy of their portrayal. As we consider Michael Rockefeller's enduring mystery, we are reminded of the delicate balance between curiosity and respect in the search for understanding an idea that resonates even as we turn the page to our final reflections on history's enigmatic figures. As we reach the conclusion of our journey through these 25 captivating mysteries, one thing becomes strikingly clear: history is as much about the questions it raises as the answers it provides. These enigmatic deaths and disappearances remind us that even the most detailed historical records can leave us with gaps, frustrating yet fascinating voids that spark our imagination, fuel our curiosity, and challenge what we think we know. From Cleopatra's final moments to Michael Rockefeller's vanishing, each story illustrates just how intricate and fragile the threads of history truly are. These mysteries are more than just unsolved puzzles. They are windows into the times, cultures, and values of the people they involve, forcing us to grapple with what is fact, what is fiction, and what falls somewhere in between. This ever-present curiosity about the past is what allows history to live on, not as a static collection of dates and events, but as an evolving narrative shaped by new discoveries, perspectives, and debates. It invites us to question, to wonder, and to engage with the stories that have shaped our world. And as history leaves us these tantalizing mysteries, it also leaves us with a choice: to let them fade into obscurity or to continue exploring them with an open mind and a critical eye. So, which theories speak to you? What questions do these stories leave you pondering? We want to hear your thoughts. Share your theories and insights in the comments below. If you found these mysteries as compelling as we did, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into the fascinating world of history. Share this video with your fellow history enthusiasts and let's keep the conversation going, because as long as there are questions, there will always be more to discover. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you next time.